I was just on a call earlier this morning, and I listened to a gentleman who he just totally blew my mind away with the amount of knowledge that he had about a lot of special programs that are out there for small businesses like you and I to help us. Now, I know this is not my regular topic in my regular day of pushing out content, but I just had to get him on the show, and he graciously agreed. So I'm going to introduce you to a person who started a business called Easy Funding Solutions, which is a certified business advisory and consulting company. And his vision is to combat all issues around financing and ultimately make businesses what he calls bankable, which I hope he explains a little bit. He is an NAGGL certified in credit underwriting and has a team of former bankers, so they know the deal of how to help people with their financing. Now, he sits on 3 advisory boards here in New Jersey. One is in New Brunswick at Rutgers, and there's another advisory board called a RBAC, which is the largest 504 CDC lender. And he also sits on a board called IT Connect. They're all here in New Jersey. He does several seminars and presentations for the SBDC, SCORE, MODC, and the IFPG. Now, these are all things that I don't know about, but it's called the International Franchise Professional Group. And he does many others. Now, I feel very blessed that he was able to come on the show and educate us, because I think a lot of us are going to benefit from the information he has to share. So without further ado, this special episode starts right now.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and we are going to have a special episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. I know typically the topic of conversation is around marketing and business growth, but given the current climate of today's today's world, it's not just here in the U.S., today's world, that we're having a crisis, a financial crisis, and also this pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic has really changed the way people are looking at life in general, and people are looking at their business. But as I said in the pre-intro, I have a guest today that is going to help us ease our minds in terms of what we have to do to continue the business going, and how to take advantage of some of the programs out there for small businesses. As you know, my audience basically consists of all small businesses. So this is an episode that you want to take advantage of, that you want to pay attention to. I suggest you grab notes. You shouldn't be driving out there because it's a stay-at-home order. So you should be listening to this on your phones right now, and take notes. Grab a piece of paper right now, because I am going to introduce an influential person that I personally feel lucky to have met him during my networking activities. His name is Parag Nevatia. Did I get that correct, Parag?
Very close, Nevatia.
Nevatia. Nevatia. The accent. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Parag. I know I sent a lot of things in the pre-intro, but I would like you to just give us a brief intro of who Parag Nevatia is.
Sure. Thank you, Frank, for this great opportunity today to be able to go out and help people, get some information and hopefully take some steps towards getting some financing from the government incentives and the programs out there. Very quickly, a couple of minutes on my intro. Parag Nevatia from Easy Funding Solutions. We are a certified business advisory and consulting company in New Jersey. My background comes from being in banking 20 years prior to jumping into my consulting shoes. So banking 20 years, 7 years on my own as a consultant now, a certified SBA advisor, certified by SBA in credit underwriting. So what we basically bring, when I say we, have three other people, two other people working. So there's three of us in the company. We are all former bankers, and what our initiative is to make businesses bankable at the end of the day, so that banks can give them loans, approved loans, out of which came a few more pieces, which is if somebody wants to sell a business, are the numbers right? If somebody wants to do a health checkup for potential growth, potential loan in 6 months or 12 months, or just want to find out if they're bankable or not. So we have those kind of services that we bring. Sustainability, after you get the money, how do you use the money? Are you consistent, and do you have an accountable kind of a process to spend the money so that you can grow your company as well? So there's a few of those pieces that come up in finance, and we're very I would say, I'm very happy to be in this situation where I can help businesses out there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
It's something that I've heard you say before, but I know my audience has not heard this term. So can you explain what does bankable mean? Because that's something that when I first heard it, I couldn't understand what it was. But can you please enlighten us?
We would love to. I kind of came up with this word because it simply reflects who you are, if somebody can trust you or not. So bankability is something that came out when I said, are you financeable from a business standpoint? Are you financeable? Can banks trust what you're presenting to them? The problem that I've seen as a former lender, being at 7 different banks over 20 years, is I saw a pattern of people unable to present themselves clearly, which is the reason why people get declined, which is the reason why people, bankers on the other end, take so much more time to understand a business, because that's their job, to understand the client and the business. But many times people are not able to present themselves correctly. So that's the terminology that I came up with, saying, is your business really bankable or not? And if you are, then you can potentially see money at some point. But if you're not, you'll never see money. You'll never be in a position to get financing.
And so how does your business, Easy Funding, help a business become bankable?
So we essentially look at, if it's an existing business, we look at financials. We work with the company's CPA or the CFO or the owner to try and brainstorm on trying to find out what the story is behind the numbers, the financials, because numbers are numbers at the end of the day. They don't really depict anything, and we try and pull out that story behind the numbers. Once you can tell the story to a bank clearly, then there's more likelihood of them giving you a loan once they understand the risks behind it. But if that's not done clearly, so what we do is work around the numbers. We work with the logic, the vision of the entrepreneur, maybe they have projections, maybe they don't have projections, and what are the assumptions behind the projections. So we do a lot of that analysis, risk analysis, to make sure that that information is really reflected on a presentation to a bank, right? So
Wow.
once you get through all these numbers and get a real nice story to explain to a lender, there are more chances of really getting that loan approval.
Mm. Now, it's funny, Parag. We were just on a call not too long ago, and you gave some astonishing data that I felt, we had to get this out to my listeners as much as possible. So again, thanks for being available to do this. But in terms of being bankable and all of that, that's great for a normal in a normal situation. As you know, we're not in a normal situation right now with this coronavirus pandemic. So that being said, with everything that's happening around, the SBA, what are the incentives or programs do we have at the moment that the business community can take advantage of that maybe some people don't know? Like, for instance, me personally, I don't have any employees. Is there a program for that? And versus a business like, say, a restaurant who's had to lay off people, in droves because of this. Is there a special program for that, or is it all the same?
No, a very, very, very important question. Great question. Right now, I will try and pick each of those incentives out there and see if I can kind of reflect that out over here. It's the government basically obviously has a problem right now, which is to support. First of all, the consumers are they're not going out there and spending money. They're not allowed to be out there. If people are not being outside, they're not spending money. If they're not spending money, the business revenue is hurt. When a business faces a hardship of not getting customers in, their revenue suffers. If the revenue suffers, they can't pay people. They can't have people on payroll. So the biggest initiative is to give people some kind of grant or loan, and make sure that people can sustain their businesses as opposed to shutting doors. Unfortunately, many businesses, phone calls that I've got of people who have already shut the doors, unfortunately. Very quickly, the government released a program 2 weeks ago called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. That's the first SBA initiative that came out 2 weeks ago. Basically, the EIDL program is, in my opinion, a sort of a working capital that's given to an entrepreneur or business owner to withstand, basically go through the next 4 months during what the government feels is this tough time for us to deal with the pandemic. So 4 months of working capital is what they're looking to kind of base their number on. How do they figure out the calculation on the EIDL? They look at your revenue for last year. If you were in business last year, they look at your revenue and divide that by 12 months. So 2019 revenue divided by 12, multiplied by 4 months, and that's the loss of revenue essentially in your business. Now, that's working capital that can be given out to the businesses, and nobody is monitoring that money. That is working capital, so you can utilize it for any expense. Now, the good thing about the EIDL loan is there is no personal guarantee involved. There is no collateral involved necessary to be given out to the bank. Those are the two best things that are coming out of it, right? And then the next few things are it's a 30-year amortization. It's a 30-year loan at 3.75% fixed rate. I mean, that's it's amazing. right? So you have the 4 months worth of working capital that is given to you for a 30-year period with a 3.75% fixed rate. I mean, how can you go wrong with this? That's the EIDL program. Then you have the PPP program, which is most likely launching on Friday this week, where the PPP stands for Payroll Protection Plan. And that's an initiative which is part of a $330 billion incentive by the federal government that was announced last weekend. And businesses are able to apply for a PPP loan through their bank. One differentiating factor between the EIDL program and the PPP program is the EIDL comes from the federal government themselves. Therefore, the government could afford a 30-year term on that loan. But on the bank side, the PPP program comes from a bank. That loan is from a bank. The banks are guaranteed 100% guarantee on those loans from the government. And therefore, those loans are for a period of 10 years, maximum period of 10 years. And essentially, that money is being given out through the PPP program for retaining payroll.
Yeah, it's very necessary.
Right? So once people get that money, how do they get the money? How does it, what kind of money do they really get? So there's a couple of different methodologies to this. One is the government says, figure out what your payroll cost was between February 15th last year, February 15th through June 30th, and total up your payroll, rent, mortgage, utilities, and any benefits, payroll benefits associated with payroll. So if you club 4 or 5 of these numbers together within that period of Feb 15 through June 30th last year, take that sum total, multiply it by divided by 12 months, and multiply it by 2.5 times.
Awesome.
Essentially, it's 250% of that number.
So those of you who have your pen and papers out, please write that down, because that's essential if you're going to be with the PPP anyway.
Exactly.
Continue, I'm sorry.
No, please. So that's one way of looking at that number. The second way of looking at that number is if you didn't have enough people employed, say last year, and you had them this year or after June last year through about February this year, then they're saying it's either the hire of last year's 3 months or this year from January 1st through Feb 29th.
Okay.
So do the same math for last year, the period in last, the 2.5 months last year and 2.5 months this year, and look at which of the two numbers is higher. Then do the math of, again, multiplied by 12 divided by 12, and multiplied by 2.5. If you can prove that you are willing to rehire people with those funds or keep people on payroll and not let them go, if you can maintain payroll, then the payroll portion of this loan can be forgiven.
Wow.
If you can demonstrate that you're going to utilize those funds over the next 8 weeks after getting the money this year, like during this period.
Gotcha.
So it's very important to understand how they're looking at the number and what the money is going to be utilized for, and a portion of that money can be forgiven. That's immense.
That's whew. That's
right?
A good one. Now, you said that starts April 3rd is when they're going to announce this?
Friday? Yes, Friday. This Friday is the banks are basically being asked to start this program by this Friday, which is in 2 days. So tomorrow actually, and hopefully this gets started by every SBA lender out there. So contact your SBA lenders, banks, contact your accountants, your CPAs, your attorneys, especially attorneys that practice in labor laws. get
Yeah.
information from all these three people, and see how you can kind of get ready to approach the PPP program as well.
And by the way, if you don't have one of those, if you don't have an SBA lender or anything like that, how can people get a hold of you? Because you are definitely someone that they need to. What's the best way of getting a hold of you?
Absolutely. My phone number is 908-922-5527. That's my cell phone. So please, you're welcome to call me directly on my cell phone. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm getting phone calls every 15 minutes, and each phone call lasts about 20 minutes on an average. So if you get my voicemail, rest assured I will get back at some point within the next 24 hours.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. And your website, I'm going to put a link on the show notes of this show. Is easyfundingsolutions.com. That's easy. That's E as in Edward and Z as in zebra, fundingsolutions.com. So
right.
now I understand there was another method, another incentive program. There was EIDL, there's PPP, and there was another one.
So there is a New Jersey Economic Development. So the New Jersey EDA has grants that are starting on Friday as well.
Okay.
And those grants are basically up to $5 million and open to a lot of service businesses out there.
So since it's a grant, these aren't, you don't have to pay this back.
We pay them back.
And this
Absolutely.
is just for New Jersey.
This is from New Jersey EDA, and I'm sure listeners from outside of New Jersey should approach their state's economic development authority and take a look at that, because I'm sure all the economic development authorities are rolling out programs within their state.
Perfect. And what are the parameters on that? I mean, you gave us some great parameters on the EIDL and PPP. Any parameters that we should know about the EDA?
Unfortunately, I'm not very well versed on that. I will try and get you some information so that you can roll it out through your channels. But I would strongly suggest Google up New Jersey EDA or the EDA in your state and call them as soon as you can.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. So out of curiosity, where can listeners get more, information from? Like, for instance, you're giving us a lot of stuff, and it's kind of like being fed water through a fire hose, because everyone is scrambling and trying to figure out how they're going to continue having their doors open for the next 2-3 months. Are there websites that you can point us to?
Absolutely. I would suggest first Google up the following: SBA.gov. That's SBA.gov, and Google up disaster loan applications.
Okay.
The moment you put disaster loan applications, the first thing you get on the list is the SBA.gov website. Click on that and then navigate through all the programs and incentives out there. There's probably 6 or 7 lined up, one after the other, once you get into that website. And click on each of the programs. You can get a lot of information from each of the around each program, and there's applications, there's forms to navigate through. And of course, we are here to help as certified as SP advisors. We are here to help people if you have any questions.
Yeah, and he gave the number out already, guys, and I'm gonna put that in the show notes as well. Out of curiosity, because I have a lot of different types of people who listen to my show, and I just want to make sure that they understand who's eligible to take advantage of this and who's not. So is there anything that you can, I don't want them to waste their time. They're searching and then they find out, oh, I'm not even eligible. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And very important. Yes, there are certain standards to be eligible for SBA money or SBA guaranteed money. And that list is also available when you go on that website on disaster loan applications for EIDL loans. It actually has a checklist on the very first page of all the businesses. But let me run that real quick. Any applicant, an applicant is a business with not more than 500 employees. That's eligible. And I think there's a whole lot of small businesses out there that don't have 500 up to 500 employees. So I think there's a whole lot of businesses that are eligible right from that standpoint.
Right.
Any individual who operates under a sole proprietorship with or without employees is also eligible, or as an independent contractor is also eligible. Point out something that came up on another phone call this morning. Independent contractors that are self-employed are also considered eligible. Eligible to receive a loan, basically. These individuals must present documentation to prove through a 1099 that they've been receiving income. So basically to show their proof of income to confirm their eligibility. But so you have sole proprietors, you have LLCs and corporations, for-profits, non-for-profits, with or without employees, independent contractors are all eligible for this SBA disaster relief money. Applicant can be a cooperative as well, a co-op with less than 500 employees, that's eligible as well. A tribal business concern with not more than 500 employees, agricultural cooperatives, aquaculture enterprises, nurseries. There's a bunch of industries that are eligible within that. Now, I will kind of use word of caution over here. There's what's called the SBA size standards that SBA lenders utilize to make sure that the NIAC code, the NIAC's code on the tax return is eligible or not. Again, the first rule of thumb is almost all businesses or applicants are eligible. But I would also try and check with the CPA to see if their NIAC's code or their SBA lender, if their NIAC's code is eligible, which I really think there are, because about 5,000 NIAC codes are eligible in the country.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So we probably don't have anything to worry about there.
I don't think so.
Unless you have some kind of obscure business, I'm assuming.
True.
But all right. Well, awesome. This has been great. I don't have any more questions for you, but if there's anything you want to share with our listeners before we close out, that would be great. So I'll open the floor up to you again, just to see if there's anything else that I may have been missing, because you're the expert on this, not me. These are questions that I just came out that I thought was helpful in the call that we had earlier today. So I wanted to bring it forth here. Anything else?
No, I appreciate it. First of all, great opportunity. Thank you so much. For this webinar and this podcast. I've been doing webinars, seminars, and podcasts, or Zoom webinars also. So I apologize. So great opportunity to get in front of people and get the message out to people, because everybody's scrambling right now through getting the most relevant, authentic clarity on what's available out there. So I'll be very happy to help anyone. I did mention not-for-profits are also eligible. I wanted to throw some light on that as well.
Okay.
Non-governmental agency that is a non-governmental agency is eligible. You really want to take 501c3s, are eligible as well. So definitely check with your SBA lender, your CPA, and an attorney as well, for that matter, to see if you can seek guidance on that. As far as links, what people could take away from this podcast is the key, key website to look for right now is the SBA.gov website, or just Google disaster loans, SBA disaster loans. Those are the two best ways to get any kind of information as of right now. Besides that, our website, which you had graciously shared on this podcast earlier, it's easyfundingsolutions.com. The two alphabets, E like in Edward, Z as in zebra, fundingsolutions.com. You can call our offices, although we are all working from home, but we have our, I believe, the phone transfer. So all the calls do come into our respective cell phones. Our work number is 732-384-3365 or 3366, or you're welcome to call me on my cell phone as well. Like I said, I'm generally on phone calls every 5-10 minutes, and I'm on for like 20 minutes on an average. But my cell phone is 908-922-5527, and if you leave a message, I'll make sure to return your call within 24 hours. We are also available. Easy Funding Solutions is also available on Facebook. So please Google us up on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and we have a YouTube channel, Easy Funding Solutions YouTube channel, where you can look at a lot of videos, segments that we've published out there, put out there. Very informative videos, and hopefully you'll find them informative and interesting. Last but not least, I do have some publication information as well in the media, and Frank, I'll be happy to share that with you as well.
Oh, awesome. Yes, please do. Everything that he just mentioned, I'll have it on the show notes so you can actually, take a look at it. So no worries about that. But I would invite everyone to take Parag up on his offer, because I've been on the SBA.gov site. It's not trivial. So you need someone with his expertise to help you guide you through. So I think you should take him up on that, given this time. So once again, thanks a lot, Parag, for coming here. This has been local business. This has been marketing solutions for local businesses. This is a special edition of my podcast, special episode, given the climate. Also, you can always get us at lbmsllc.com, like always. And as you guys know, I have my book, which is 7 Steps to Recession-Proofing Your Business. This is something that you should have gotten before this, because we're about to hit a recession. So pick up the book now, 7 Steps to Recession-Proofing Your Business. I'll have a link on the show notes as well. So that way, if something like this happens again, you'll be recession-proof. So until this Friday, which is our next episode, you guys have a great afternoon. Stay safe out there, and talk with you soon.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.